Hi, Richard for the Armory Life here. Weapon-mounted lights have become very popular, and for good reason. A white light attached to your pistol or your rifle makes it much easier to accurately engage an attacker in the darkness. But a weapon-mounted light is not the only torch you should have. In fact, I argue it's not even the primary light you should own. The first defensive light you should buy and learn how to use is a handheld light much like this one. Obviously, a handheld light can help you in situations where a weapon light is simply inappropriate. For example, your friend drops her keys in the parking lot. You don't want to whip out your 1911 just so you can shine that Surefire around. Even in a defensive context, the weapon-mounted light is not ideal in most situations. The way I see it, there are three main uses a flashlight can be used in a self-defense scenario. A weapon-mounted light is useful for one. Handheld lights are good for all three. Let me outline my thinking. In a personal protection situation, the first purpose of a flashlight is to identify a potential threat. Before you shoot an armed attacker, you have a moral and legal duty to clearly identify that someone is a deadly threat. Shooting someone because you're afraid is not a legal justification for use of force. You must be able to articulate or explain a reasonable fear that you're going to be killed or suffer great bodily injury from an attacker. Otherwise, you could be committing a crime. Shooting an unknown subject in the dark is not reasonable because you can't articulate the subject's actions, if he was armed, or any other aspect of his behavior. If you have only a weapon-mounted light, that means you have to point your pistol or your rifle at an unknown person just to illuminate them. And by doing so, you violate a fundamental rule of gun safety, pointing your weapon at a target you cannot clearly identify. Likewise, you may be pointing the gun at something you're not willing to destroy, which is another violation. If you follow Jeff Cooper's rules of firearm safety, you're violating half of them already. Startle reflex is a real human reaction. When surprised, the body does certain instinctual things. One of those reactions is the hands clench, and that movement includes a finger curling. If that finger is on the trigger, another rule violation, that firearm will discharge. And even if that finger is on the frame of the gun, in that startle reaction, it could slip and still pull that trigger accidentally. And this is where that chain of multiple mistakes will ruin your life. Your gun's pointed at someone you can't identify, you're startled, and you accidentally pull the trigger. A handheld flashlight allows you to search darkened areas without pointing a weapon at someone. If you identify a lethal threat, you can still engage it properly with your weapon. If it's a loved one, you might avoid tragedy. The second use for the handheld light is to assist you in aiming your firearm to address an immediate deadly threat. This is the identical function to the weapon light, so I won't waste a lot of time here. I just want to point out that if your budget doesn't allow for two flashlights, the handheld light can save the same purpose as that specialty weapon-mounted light. Now, the final reason a handheld light is necessary for self-defense is it can help you resolve the aftermath of a defensive shooting. For example, you can use this light to help render aid to yourself or another person. Likewise, you can use it to signal your location to responding law enforcement and fire rescue personnel. My intention is not to convince you that a weapon light is bad or that it doesn't have advantages over a handheld light in some circumstances. Rather, it's my hope that you will consider the information, pick up a quality handheld light, and use it in conjunction with any weapon-mounted light you may own. Thanks for watching.